As Travel Television wraps up our third year of production, we present to our audience this month one of our favorite stories about volunteerism in New Orleans. Looking at either small organizations or large, everyone giving their time to help rebuild felt something universal, a sense that helping had changed their lives forever. We'll learn more about the Building Bridges Coalition and its goal to double the number of international volunteers by 2010.
Hi, I'm Steve Rosenthal, and I'm the chairperson for the Building Bridges Coalition. The Building Bridges Coalition is a consortium of over 270 volunteer-sending organizations working around the world, colleges and universities, corporations, government agencies, policymakers, all working collaboratively to increase the number of volunteers serving overseas, to improve the quality of volunteer programs, and also to improve the impacts in communities around the world. The Building Bridges Coalition members are working to achieve our goals through collaboration and a spirit of a rising tide raises all boats. Through our work as a coalition, we are able to help promote the field, act as a galvanizing force for those in our field, and we're able to speak as one voice for our field. Today we live in unprecedented times. Today we live in a world where the United States' national agenda is to promote a friendlier face of America overseas so that we could build bridges of understanding across cultures, ones that focus on the fact that we are one human family, a world that seeks its solutions to global challenges through focusing on what we share in common as opposed to our differences. And with this new spirit of respect and partnership, international volunteering has become in and of itself a national priority. This is a form of soft power, a form of citizen diplomacy, where people come together with people of other countries at the grassroots level, and they learn, they serve, they help, they exchange. They come back to their home countries with an increased awareness about global issues, and they're empowered to effect positive change as with never before. They're able to break down stereotypes. They're able to present a more accurate picture of the American people. And today our field is thriving. 50 years ago, there were just a few thousand Americans serving overseas, and today there are tens of thousands. There are dozens and dozens of organizations providing wonderful opportunities for all Americans to serve overseas.
For both armchair travelers and those preparing to take their equestrian adventure, Equitrekking transports viewers to exotic destinations through its high-definition public television series. Emmy-nominated host and producer Darley Newman takes viewers to the best destinations to go horseback riding, exploring with local people to learn about history, culture, and stunning wildlife and natural surroundings. Experience equestrian travel as expert Darley takes you riding on the beaches of southern Spain, in a northern California redwood forest, the rainforests of Costa Rica, or through the lush green countryside of Ireland. Hi, Charlie Abel with Travel Television. I'm reporting from Adventures in Travel in the Washington, D.C. Convention Center. And look who's with me, Darley Newman. Darley's the host of the PBS series Equitrekking, and we're just so glad to have you here. Welcome to DC.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you. I feel like we're fast friends already.
Aren't we though? Aren't we though? I had hoped we could do the interview on horseback, Darley, but I guess they wouldn't let you in here with horses?
Yeah, they wouldn't let me bring him to the convention center today, but you never know.
You never know. Maybe in the future. Well, tell me about the series Equitrekking. You're in your 4th season, right?
We have just finished our 26th episode, which we're very proud of.
Congratulations.
Yeah, in our show we go all around the world horseback riding, and we ride with local people. So they tell us about their area on horseback, and we really see hidden gems and places that are not in the guidebook. So it's a very, very cool way to travel.
That's outstanding. So 4 seasons. You've you've covered a lot of the world in those 4 seasons. Where have you been?
We've been to Alaska, Hawaii, Central Turkey, Iceland, Ireland, all over the U.S., Georgia. I mean, it's amazing the places that you can go and horseback ride and see wild horses. We saw wild horses on Cumberland Island, Georgia, and out west. And we've ridden horses to Arenal Volcano in Costa Rica. So just some really amazing places.
And horses in Iceland and Alaska is not really what you think. Tell me about those trips, will you?
If you don't think that is unbelievable, listen to this. I rode a horse on the beach in Alaska. And
oh my goodness.
I know, in Seward, Alaska. But, you know, horses are all over the world, and they're a really good way to get around. If you're going to go out into nature and you actually want to see wildlife, horses are unobtrusive. They're quiet. It's not like you're on an ATV. And even if you're hiking, if you're on a horse, you can get a lot farther, a lot faster,
right,
and really see some beautiful, outstanding places.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And Iceland's amazing because the horses, they've been riding them there as transportation up into the 19th century. So those horses know how to get around through the lava fields, and they're very sure-footed.
I really wouldn't have really pictured that right off the bat. But so Equitrekking's in its 4th season. Have you got your eyes on a 5th season yet?
We do, actually. We leave on Thursday. We're going to Uruguay, where I'm going to ride with the gauchos at different ranches and hit the beach and horseback ride on the beach, which is always such a great time.
Are you going to learn to throw the boleadores?
I'm going to try, but that's what makes it fun too. I can always try, and then we let the experts really show us how to do it.
That's so cool,
Darley. We see the culture, yeah.
Darley, I went to your website. I want to mention it on camera. It's www.equitrekking.com. And I read some things about your background. So you love horses from when you were a kid in South Carolina, and you parlayed that into a TV career. That's fantastic.
I know. This show it's my passions. It's horses and travel, and I just truly believe that this is such a neat way to see the world. So I used my background in television, and I created something that I wanted to do. This is my dream job, and I'm working hard at it. So
that's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Another item on your website that I caught my attention was the quote that you've ridden famous movie star horses in Utah. Tell me about that.
Well, wherever we go in our show, these are things that you could recreate and do yourself. We ride with ranches, outfitters. These are people that actually run horseback riding tours, and we look to find the best ones. So in Utah, we rode with this guy, Ron Brown, right outside of Salt Lake City on Antelope Island, where we herded bison. And his horses have been in all these famous westerns. So at first I was like actually a little intimidated to ride his horses, but by the end I was like, these horses are amazing.
And you're a pro.
Give me a movie star horse anytime.
Yeah, you're an expert anyway. Well, let me mention the website again. It's www.equitrekking.com, and we're just so happy that you came to visit our fair city of Washington, D.C., and best of luck in Uruguay, okay? Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Good to meet you, Darley.
Good to meet you.
Charlie Abel reporting for Travel Television.
Volunteerism.org is the original source for information on the unique combination of travel and volunteering your time and services. Founded by David Clemens, who coined the term volunteerism, he has been guiding the site for over 7 years. He has helped shape the debate and crystallizes the focus on this important travel niche. David produces a weekly podcast about the industry and is often quoted by mainstream media on the subject. David shares the history of volunteerism.
So volunteerism.org was actually started back in 2000 as an idea. A group of marketing professionals came together, myself, 2 other gentlemen, and we came up with this thought of, basically I had been assigned the task of asking what would be the next big connection between the corporate world and the philanthropic world. What would that look like? So I did some research, and I discovered that the travel industry had really never had a philanthropic issue that it could adopt unilaterally across all sectors of the tourism industry, whether it was the business sector, whether it was the leisure travel sector, whether it was tour operators, whether it was destinations, whatever the case may be. There was never really a sense that something had been truly adopted across all of those sectors. And as I did my research and discovered that, I also began to look at, well, what about the philanthropic world would be unique in terms of a connection with the travel industry? And immediately the thought was, well, volunteering. What destination in the world, regardless of the nature of that destination, would you not be able to volunteer in some capacity? And so as I started framing that and thinking about it and reflecting on it, I brought that to the attention of the gentlemen that were also in the marketing firm where I worked. And they absolutely thought it was the best idea that they had heard. In fact, they started calling some of their colleagues and asking them in the industry. And one guy called back who put together the deal with Pacific Bell at Pac Bell Park in San Francisco. And he said, "This is the best idea I've heard in 15 years. Hands down." So we started, well, what are you going to call it? What would you make of something like this? So we had this brainstorming session. We kept talking about it all day long. And then finally in the afternoon, we had this situation where I was riding the train north with my colleague, Brian Hawkins, after a long day of working. And I said, "You know, I think we're really onto something here." He said, "Absolutely. In fact, you know what this is?" And he looked right at me. He said, "This is volunteers." When he said that, tears started streaming down my face. I had completely realized in that instant what this work was going to be about, how it was going to impact the industry, how it was going to make something that would be positive for all the folks that were connecting to travel. And from that point on, we have used the word volunteers and the word volunteerism.
Hello, my name is Carlos Palmer and I'm here for Travel Television. Travel Television is a television show all about volunteerism. And today we are at the Holiday Inn Hotel in downtown Baltimore, and we're going to be working with a project called the Carlos Palmer Designs Created from IKEA Textiles Project. And what this project does is it is raising money to help people in Baltimore City who have HIV or AIDS through an organization called Chase Brexton Health Services. Today we've worked with many models, photographers, videographers who have all come together to donate their time, and this is a little bit of what you'll see.
This particular program is sponsored by IKEA Home Furnishing Textiles. We have with us 4 of the models and a photographer that has been involved with this project. And we have Farrah Walker, right? Yep. Raven Burris, Michael Haberman, Samantha Brown, and we also have David Hersenberg. But first I wanted to ask the models, this is a wonderful, wonderful thing that you have done. You have volunteered your services here on a Saturday morning, and more importantly, on a holiday weekend. Tell us a little bit about why you found this important for you today. We'll start with you, Farrah.
I found it very important because, like, I know that some of the money is going towards HIV patients, and I have a lot of friends in, like, you know, the gay community, and I also know people with HIV, so I think it would be nice for, you know, the money to help them and everything like that, and also it helps my portfolio. So.
Exactly, exactly. In fact, the portion of the proceeds for this will be going to the Chase Brexton Health Services. They do sponsor and have HIV patients, but most importantly, they're especially servicing HIV children. And tell us why you're here today.
I felt like the idea was pretty creative and unique, and I wanted to be part of it because the proceeds are for the HIV patients.
Exactly. Great.
Well, I know Carlos, and he asked me to come on board, and it's always good to be part of the community and showcase Baltimore's talent, and as well, it's always good to help out the HIV patients.
Great.
It's good to see this epidemic.
Oh, thank you.
I've actually worked with Carlos before, and he asked me to come back and work with him for the IKEA Textiles project. which I was more than happy to do, again, because it's such a great cause. So, I mean, even coming on this Saturday morning, I mean, just to do it for the kids and for everyone who is fighting, I'm really happy to be part of it.
I wanted to say I am a associate professor at Morgan State University, and I head up the theater program. And I just want to say that it's so important to see such young, energetic men and women in this project. I think also the fact that you have volunteered your services. One of the things that I think is important for our viewers to understand is the fact that we should receive from not only finance, money given to us, but just for the goodness of giving of our hearts. And I can't thank you enough for Carlos for being a part of this project. This project is very important, not only to IKEA and the Home Furnishing Textiles program, and not only to Chase Brexton Health Services, but just for your own spirit as well.
I want to thank you all for watching Travel Television, and until next time, see you later.
How much room do y'all have?
It may be a strange-looking sleigh,
That's animals.
but this United Methodist Youth Group bus is packed full of Christmas cheer, headed for a place that sure could use some.
We're just getting everything together and about to get ready to head over there.
Over there is not far, but since Hurricane Katrina came, it's a whole different world.
Just the devastation was unbelievable. I didn't expect to be this bad.
More than 50 United Methodist youth from in and around Mississippi set up a Christmas shopping center of sorts in one of the hardest hit areas.
Some books.
To hand out 10 truckloads of donated toys, books, and basics to those who've lost everything.
We had 9 feet of water in our house, so nobody has nothing.
I really, really appreciate them doing all this for me.
Truly a blessing. It really is.
They've thought this through, right down to the details.
I got some wrapping paper for the people and the campers to wrap their Christmas presents that were given out today.
The teens trek through FEMA trailer parks with bins of the little things hurricane victims need for Christmas.
It's got Christmas decorations,
but probably don't have.
And we just wanted to give you a little bit of Christmas stuff so it'll help you get ready for Christmas.
Thank you. Wrapping paper and all kind of things, isn't it great? It makes you feel like Christmas.
It's a place where joy may be hard to find this Christmas. But on this day, it came by the busload.
Y'all been a God's blessing.
Complete with a bow.
Okay, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Friends and neighbors come to help in the Gulf Coast. Estimates of volunteers in the first year exceed 500,000. The scope of the problem will need twice that number in the next year.
Volunteers are the fuel that's going to rebuild the Gulf Coast.
It's just devastating. You can't put it into words. You have to come down and experience it and help.
The tragic and shocking fate of pit bull terriers used in fighting rings was a wake-up call for many Americans who never knew the extent of the horror faced by these animals. In the silver lining department, the kindness of animal lovers brought many of their surviving dogs and the world's attention to Best Friends Animal Sanctuary, a haven for abused and abandoned animals in Utah. The pit bulls known as the Vic dogs are survivors who brought the spotlight, donations, and interest to this no-kill shelter. Long before the TV series and notoriety of Michael Vick and his pit bulls, Donna Zeigfinger, owner of Green Earth Travel, organized groups of volunteers who traveled to the Utah shelter to work with the staff and animals of Best Friends Sanctuary. Travel Television spoke with Donna and a volunteer from a recent trip. Hi everybody and welcome to Travel Television. Visiting us in the studio today is Donna Zeigfinger of Green Earth Travel, and Donna does volunteer vacations, and Kathy Poynton, who went on one of those volunteer vacations. Welcome to you both.
Welcome.
Well, great. So tell me how this idea of volunteer vacations started.
This started about a little over 3 years ago when it was 4 years ago when I decided to put together a 50th birthday bash for myself and my neighbors and friends, and I wanted to take them to the Grand Canyon, the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. And so what I did is I used this tour operator that I had been using for many years, and it turned out that the guide that we had he also worked at Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in the winter. So he had told me that a lot of people would go to Best Friends, and I had heard about Best Friends for years and, you know, just heard great things about it. But he said that people would go to Best Friends, volunteer there for like 3 or 4 days, and then want to totally crash and just do something fun.
Do some fun stuff.
Right, so, and they would go on his trip. So we just started talking about it, and we decided that maybe we could put a group together. And a year later we did that. We put 2 groups together, and it's been going on its 3rd year now.
Excellent. Now, Best Friends Animal Sanctuary became famous for?
Well, they've been famous for a couple things, but one of the things that started about, I don't know, about 4 years ago was Dogtown.
Right.
It's on another...
It's okay, National Geographic.
National Geographic station. And that actually put them over the top. And that's where they really became well known. I've known about Best Friends for probably at least 10, 15 years, but they were a small organization at that time. Now they're a multi-million-dollar organization, but they do a lot of great work. And then a few years ago, they took in quite a bit of the Michael Vick dogs, and that really put them over the top.
Yeah, didn't really know about Dogtown myself until that moment. That's what I was getting at. So Kathy, tell us about your experience to it's the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary that they start the tour out at.
Well, my experience with the whole Best Friends, I guess, going on the trip was something I've always wanted to do for a really long time, and actually it's something my mom has always wanted to do. And a friend of mine at work had signed up for the trip and was telling me about it, and I was, are you serious? I didn't realize that, you know, there was a trip that you could take and actually go out there and do that. And so I contacted Donna, and Donna sent me the information, and I was fortunate to get a spot on her tour in this past October. And so I took my mom, and it was the first time she'd ever been on a vacation, and basically her whole entire life, so it was very exciting for her. And I really wasn't sure what to expect because, you know, like most of the folks on Donna's trip, you know, we've been members of Best Friends for years, but when you see something in a magazine or you get a newsletter or a flyer in the mail, you know, you read it and maybe pull at your heartstrings and, you know, you give some donations, but you really have no idea where the money goes or how it's spent. So I think that's one of the things that did intrigue me. So when we went on the trip and I went out there, I mean, for them to say that they take care of the animals out there is an absolute understatement. These animals, no matter how abandoned or abused or neglected they were in the lives that they had before, when they got there and the way they're treated there, they are treated with such dignity and respect. I mean, you just see it in the animals. I mean, they just have such a self, just a dignified demeanor about them. And it's almost surreal when you get there, just to feel the compassion and love. And I mean, it was just, I can't even begin to explain how wonderful it was to be there and the things that we did and the things that I saw. And, you know, I worked with dogs. I have cats, so I wanted to try working with animals that I didn't really know much about. So I worked with horses and I worked with dogs, and it was very hard to leave.
Now they have more than just horses, dogs, and cats. I saw on some of the videotape, was it llamas and sheep and things?
Well, they have goats, they have rabbits, they have reptiles, they have birds, exotic birds. They don't really go into the farm animals too much.
But these are all animals that are in distress in some way, and they take them in.
Exactly. They have potbelly pigs or
yeah, they did.
Yeah, so, but not the full-size pigs.
Now, I had mentioned some of the video that's on YouTube out there, but you also made a little book, and I thought some of the photographs were fantastic. This is Kathy's book that she created that shows the things that she was talking about, the dignity that the animals are maintained with, and the surroundings that they have. I don't know if you can get a close shot of it, but
Let me find a good picture
See,
for
there's
you.
farm animals there,
But
and there's some cats.
here's some of the cats that are over in what they call Cat World. And like, for example, this cat right here is a blind. And this one was born crippled. And what they end up doing is putting little socks on this cat so that when it walks, it doesn't, you know, get injured anymore. Most of these cats, you know, because of human neglect or cruelty, some of them don't have eyes anymore. So, I mean, there's just a variety of stories that when you go there, and then you can take care of these cats. And some of the volunteerism has to do with just socializing them and working with them, petting them, just spending the day with them, cleaning up after them, feeding them, and things of that nature. And then the dogs themselves are just dogs that come from either puppy mills or breeding, hoarding situations and all kinds of just amazingly horrific stories. I mean, it's just unbelievable, but
that's
it is
really
kind of
something.
neat.
We actually can stay on the property. They have cottages there and cabins. And so with that, we are actually able to take home a dog for the night as or a cat. And now they can actually take home potbelly pigs if you want for a night. And it's a good thing for them to socialize.
Right.
And to see
I was
how
wondering
they act.
how they responded to that.
Right.
Especially in an abused or situation. But
well, last year I had a Katrina dog, and she was very, very shy. But by the end of the, overnight, she started to come out of her shell a little bit, and I believe she was adopted last year. Which brings me to another point. With each trip that I do, I hopefully get at least one adoption out of that. And in fact, this last trip, we had a very unusual situation where our bus driver, who was quite a character, actually we had two bus drivers. One of them tried to adopt a dog and the dog was taken, so he couldn't, but our other bus driver, who we thought could care less really about animals and just wanted to make money, at the end of the trip, he said, you know what, I found a dog there while I was waiting for you guys. We put in an application and we're getting her on Tuesday.
Of Green Earth Travel and Kathy Poynton just got back from Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. And thanks for visiting us on Travel Television.
Friends and neighbors come to help in the Gulf Coast. Estimates of volunteers in the first year exceed 500,000. The scope of the problem will need twice that number in the next year.
Volunteers are the fuel that's going to rebuild the Gulf Coast.
It's just devastating. You can't put it into words. You have to come down and experience it and help.